So participant, excellencies, and honorable guests. So if my facilitation is not good, or if I have made mistakes in my facilitations, okay, so I would like to say sorry. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so
Thank
excellencies
you very
and
much.
honorables, yeah, thank you so much. Okay, so excellency and honorable guest speakers and this participants. So after Professor Maitri, so we are going to join the session of um, Professor Dr. Genaro. I'm so sorry if I pronounce incorrectly. Okay, Genaro V. Japos. Yeah, he is the executive president of ASEAN Society of Teachers for Research, INC, the Philippines, co-chairman, International Program Committee. Okay, so he's going to present um, a decade of mentoring faculty and student researchers in Asia, lessons learned and opportunities for development. Okay, so uh, our guest speaker will have a pre-recorded video, and our team are preparing to play his pre-recorded video. Okay, so yeah, good morning, Dr. Professor Genaro. So, do I pronounce your name correctly? Yes, thank you so much. Okay, so yeah, thank you so much for joining our conference. That this is your sacrificing the time or working time, busy time for joining conference, for sharing idea, for sharing experience or knowledge to our developing community that we're gonna grab all the speakers to apply in our classroom or in our community. Okay, thank you. So excellencies. Honorable guest speakers and beloved participants. Okay, so please join me in welcoming Professor Dr. Genaro V. Japos for presenting about the topic a decade of mentoring faculty and student researchers in Asia, lessons learned and opportunities for development. Okay, thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, members of the scholarly community, greetings from Cagayan de Oro City, the city of golden friendship, here in Mindanao, Republic of the Philippines. Allow me today to share to you my thoughts, ideas, and vision regarding mentoring research leaders in Asia, given a decade of experiences. I am your speaker today, Genaro V. Japos, the chairman of the board, the Asian Society of Teachers for Research Incorporated. From 2007 to 2020, I have established 9 research organizations with specialized purposes to serve and mentor the needs of over 500 institutions. That is why in 2007, I founded the Philippine Association of Institutions for Research with just about 7 institutional members. Now we have more than 200. We have served about 10,000 teachers and students and professionals in over 50 countries. Sometime in 2011, I founded another organization, the International Association of Multidisciplinary Research. Our headquarters was located in Cagayan de Oro City. We have organized scientific conferences in about 30 countries, making me the first Filipino who has brought Philippine sponsored or organized conferences successfully in other countries in such eminent and reputable venues such as the Marina Bay Sands Convention Center of Singapore, okay, the most beautiful place in Macau, which is the Venetian, the Raffles Hotel of Singapore also, as well as the branches of international chain, the Marriott in Malaysia, in Australia, in Taiwan, in China, name it, we've been there, including the Maldives. We have published 17 journals and conducted over 500 trainings in 10 years. In 2013, the Philippine Association for Institutions of Research and the International Association of Multidisciplinary Research were the first private research associations in the world which obtained ISO 9001-2000 certification, setting the bar of defining the auditable standards and processes for conferences, trainings, publications, and membership. And these standards were ably and generously shared to all our institutional members and friends here in the Asia Pacific region. Mentoring our members included establishing and nourishing cultures of research, which supported institutional accreditation, complied with ranking and promotion of faculty, and increased publication productivity and impact through their citations. And I'm glad to tell you that based on our analysis of web available information, we were the first institution in the world to offer a training on article citation and journal citation. In 2014, I left my university, the Liceo de Cagayan University, which has been my home for quite a time, to do full-time mentoring that brought me to all corners of the Philippines, Asia, and the Middle East. What are some of the lessons I learned in mentoring? There is always a lack of a unifying program for research in public and private schools that left gaps in the research capability of schools, which opened the door to mentor leaders. The wave of world ranking of universities triggered a high demand for Scopus publications, which generated trainings and mentoring for publications and citations. In response to that, we provided for trainings in the area of writing articles which could gain acceptance by the discriminating taste of peer reviewers and editors of Clarivate Analytics Index journals as well as Elsevier Scopus Index journals. Now, let me talk about the increasing levels of accreditation of schools. From level 1, level 2, level 3, and level 4 up to institutional accreditation, these also triggered a demand for research conferences, trainings, publications, memberships, and awards. Internationalization programs of schools propelled for research services that led to partnerships and collaborations. The success of my organizations, ladies and gentlemen, ignited also the rise of similar organizations, which helped meet the rising demand. Many organizations came and fizzled for lack of sustaining mechanisms. My organization succeeded because we have business offices, We have full-time employees. We have websites, linkages, even social media platforms with Facebook and LinkedIn. And we are all compliant to government regulations every year. With COVID-19, my organizations were shut down for 3 months and slowly recovered. This time, all our services migrated to online via Zoom. We have a solid base of membership who need our services. We focus on the training of mentors to prepare the second learners. I feel sad that when senior scientists retire or die, there are hardly enough people who would fill in the void simply because the younger generation would no longer go into the rigors of research. They would rather go to maritime education, hotel and restaurant, foreign service, rather than stay in laboratories, do field work, and all in the name of research. Online services define our future now as we are able to reach out to more clients and offer our services at much lower cost. I started to light my candle, and today thousands of candles are lighted in the Asia Pacific, proving that once a mentor, always a mentor. Let me speak at this point opportunities for growth. The main driver for research culture to flourish and get nourished in a higher education institution is the board of directors or the board of trustees, because in their hands lie the vision as well as the enabling mechanisms for research to be implemented successfully. Why don't we talk about mentoring the board of trustees? The need to refocus their vision towards Quadricarelli Simon's world ranking by including it in the VMGO. And along with this is to create an office of world ranking initiatives to jumpstart the programs. How can a college or university be included in the world ranking when if there is no office that is mandated to make all the synchronized strategic preparations in order for the university to go in the direction of the criteria for world ranking? I remember my first lecture on capacitating schools for world ranking was held at the prestigious Lyceum of the Philippines University of Batangas. There, I articulated the need for such an office, separate from all other offices, in order that there is a focused direction for world ranking. Third, we need to mandate the allocation of 10% budget to research. If our public schools can manage 5% automatic allocation for gender and development, why can't we even offer more than 10% of the budget for research? If the best way to get ahead and compete with our ASEAN neighbors is to research, we might as well be willing and able, with political choice, to allocate more than 10%. We need to calibrate also a policy for hiring and promotion of people with 60% of criteria for research, publication, citation, and utilization. Because when a teacher handles classes or is employed in higher education institutions like colleges and universities. He is there primarily because of his research track record. Secondly, because he has skills to teach the discipline. And third, because he has the ability to translate what he knows, what he teaches, what he discovers in the community. And that is extension. Moreover, the defining character of what makes for a professor is actually publication, citation, and utilization of research. Of course, we do not discount the fact that a professor should be known for ideas that create a new vision of change, a new pathway towards excellence. That is why professors should be in the limelight, delivering keynote addresses, plenaries, giving trainings, lectures, all to institutions who can not pay so that they can be given services are free, who can barely pay, or who can adequately pay. The whole point is that our scholars, our top-notch educators should be able to render services without discrimination, regardless of the economic status of the organizing sponsor. I would like to articulate at this point, ladies and gentlemen, the mandate on the application and achievement of Center of Excellence for all academic programs regardless of accreditation level. When I did my trainings for top-level school officials, I enforced the idea that if you are a dean, regardless of whether your academic programs are accredited or not, you should already be able to develop a strategic plan of action leading towards becoming a center of excellence or a center of development. How long will that take? That doesn't matter. What is important is that we know we should be going there. We should not just be content in terms of meeting the minimum standards. That is why I said, if you are applying for level 1 accreditation, your research program should already be about level 4. It is not correct that you design a research program when you are level 3 intended for level 4. You cannot grow a tree in just a span of 3 or 5 years. So it takes about 12 to 15 years to reach where you should be, the topmost echelon of accreditation. All right. So the mandate for oversee international accreditation of academic programs and ISO certification should be a top priority of the board. We should not be content in being accredited by Philippine or country-based accreditation because we would like to know how to pass the standards of international accrediting bodies so that what we do locally is valued, appreciated, and calibrated to be at par internationally. Now, in the hands of the university presidents is vested the management of the program of excellence. So, my first item here in the mentoring of university presidents is to mandate research as a core function of all offices, whether academic or non-academic, and include research as core responsibility in the performance appraisal criteria for all personnel. So, meaning from the president down to the clerical positions, research should be important as part of their core function. And everybody should be evaluated for research engagement. It is wrong for a school to place research only in the hands of the academics. Because research Ching, is a process that allows us to re-examine our practice, and then from there create strategies by which we can study how better to render our services. I understand that those who are working in non-academic offices have problems in conceptualization and the writing of a technical paper like research. But in their offices lurks a mountain of data. So these people in non-academic offices can partner with faculty members so that the faculty can help them in conceptualization, statistical analysis, and then interpretation, and then application of results, which means that results of research will be seen in the light of improvements in the quality of the services of every office. The second, let me underscore the need for an establishment of online, reputable, and refereed academic journals for all curricular programs where students, teachers, and external researchers can publish their work. Presidents must make this as a deliverable of every dean and chair that they should be able to produce journals of good academic reputation. Because we cannot prove to the world community that our academic programs are sensible and relevant if we cannot produce quality publications. So it's very, very important that these online journals should be made available so that the graduates should be able to publish in these journals. I have even advocated the idea that even in the college level, the title of the thesis plus the bibliography of the published version need to be included in the printing and release of the transcript of records. Third, presidents need to require citation of published articles for promotion of academic personnel. How can one achieve professorial status and then the management turns a blind eye on the citation track record of people? How about mentoring for the vice president for research? This is a very important area, although I would say that not all colleges and universities have vice president for research. The first item in the agenda is actually to replace the current research guidelines to meet the requirements for QS World Ranking, Center for Excellence, accreditation, foreign collaborations, and joint authorship. Meaning that the research agenda of the college or university should be guided by these policies such that the outputs for research will go for world ranking, Center for Excellence, accreditation, collaborations, and co-authorship. Second, there is a need for the VP for research to require the inclusion, take note, of 60% of foreign-based thesis panelists to prevent inbreeding. You know, if we are the faculty of an academic program, some of us will be assigned as advisors of the thesis, panelists of the thesis, editors of the thesis, statistician of the thesis, and then we are all coming from the same nationality. We will only be cloning our limitations. And as of this time, there are many students who fall victims to the limitations of their faculty who failed miserably to update with the higher trends of research. So the inclusion of 3 out of 5 foreign thesis panelists is a good step in this direction. Third, there is a need to create a thesis digital repository for all levels so studies can be read and cited globally. All that is needed is for the dean, the graduate librarian, and the IT expert to come together to create this digital repository. And then the soft copy, the digital copy of the thesis will be put in there so that our thesis and dissertations can be cited even if we have not translated that into a publishable paper. Because the best way to really understand method and how it is utilized is through reading thesis and dissertations. Why? Because the methodology is one long, comprehensive chapter. Whereas, if you read published scientific articles, the methodology is only a paragraph or two, or at most three. Therefore, only too brief. So we need this. Besides, the questionnaires are included in the thesis and dissertation, but no longer included in the published version. We need to create an international scientific advisory committee for all academic programs. What is the role of this advisory committee? To check on our syllabi, whether these are actually peer-reviewed by international experts. To check on our quality assurance procedures. To check on our procedural manuals so that they can give us inputs on how we can calibrate towards international standards. The fifth, we need to require the publication of a research review of the literature. Okay. Questionnaire with exploratory and confirmatory factor analysis, including ITR, and results of every thesis and dissertation. Two of these should be in Scopus journals. What is the use of a thesis and dissertation if we cannot produce results that can be acceptable for Scopus and Calibrate analytics? That goes to show that our standards do not meet the requirements of the international community. I've always advocated in the training of teachers of research that we use the standards of the international publications of Scopus and Calibrate analytics, okay, to be the main framework in the pedagogy, in the teaching of research, so that the outputs will automatically be acceptable when published. The conduct of foreign funded and foreign co-authored researches is also very, very important. Let me speak about the mentoring of deans. The deans need to require the implementation of quality assurance of research, publication, citation, and utilization through a research manual. And that would include the need also for the deans to establish research ethics review committees for the academic programs and have these committees be accredited by the national and international research ethics accrediting bodies. Deans also need to create a YouTube channel for advocacy of research activities, including Wikipedia and the website, so that before the students would be allowed to defend, okay, their journey that is captured in a documentary of about 7 to 10 minutes can be uploaded in YouTube and then shared in the timelines of Facebook so that there are more people who will be able to learn from the results of research. There is a need to include practitioners and published experts as consultants for content, methodology, results, and recommendations. We also need to require the use of software for grammar, plagiarism, and similarity for quality assurance. Deans can also require the creation of a video research documentary that narrates the journey of the thesis writing from start to finish and upload it in YouTube. And deans can also establish, as I've mentioned, a very functional ethics review committee. How about the mentoring of chairs and coordinators? These chairs and coordinators can require the submission by every student a thesis dissertation review of studies from the top universities of the world in 5 continents. They can create a list of thesis topics benchmarked from the top journal publications of the world and use that for the teaching of the students as well as exercises for students so that they will be able to know international standards. They can supervise local and international research presentation of faculty and students. They can audit the quality of articles to be submitted to Scopus and other publications because basically they are the technical experts of the discipline. Our chairs can create protocols for oral defenses, paper presentations, publications, patent application, utilization, and dissemination of research. Now, how about mentoring the research directors? We need to create a program for faculty who are stuck in their rank and promotion due to lack of publication so they can be promoted. That is basically one important function of research directors. There is also a need to purchase licensed software for research so faculty and students can use it. These directors of research can require all researchers to use referencing software in their studies, such as Mendeley, Zotero, EndNote, RefWorks, among others. They can also require the submission of a teaching module derived from research results for use in particular classes to guarantee inclusion of research in the course syllabus. Moreover, they can curate all research grants for the last 5 years to track their completion, publication, research presentation, utilization, citation, and inclusion in the digital research repository for global accessibility. Ladies and gentlemen, that winds up my input for today, and I hope that you have gotten some nuggets of wisdom and you too can initiate your own public conversations in order for all of us to be engaged as visionaries and miracle workers in research. Mabuhay from the Philippines, a country in the ASEAN community.
Okay, thank you so much, Professor Dr. Zenario, that have presented the meaningful presentation about the mentoring faculty. If I'm not wrong, you have mentioned about like creating you like you have a lot of works like your dean, the mentor deans or stuff like that you have created guidelines for next researchers, for helping their research successful, and next generation of the researcher will do well in their researches. Okay, so yeah, so many people are now like interested in YouTube channel that yeah, you have created like a YouTube channel for research activities that is it's important for other researchers or new researchers that start researching that can access YouTube channel for getting some ideas or activities from these guidelines that I think you find how they're very important for new researchers for for helping making their research successful. And yeah, you have like academic committees for consulting and research, and like you have you create a digital repository for for cited citing global. So I think it's very important for all the researchers and university, or all skills of the researchers. Thank you so much, Professor Doctor. Okay, so right now we have some questions from the participants. So I would like to yeah, pick up the questions for you. The first questions is from Mom Sari. So, how are your research organizations funded? Okay, Professor Doctor, please unmute your microphone. Okay, okay. I'm so sorry for inconvenience. Okay, yeah, I'm so sorry. Okay, okay. Thank you, please.
All right.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, yeah, we can hear you right now. Thank you
Oh,
so
thank you
much.
so much. I would welcome certain questions.
So now I would like to ask to read the question again, Professor. Okay, so these questions from Sari. Okay, how are your research organizations funded? Okay, thank you.
Okay, basically, we are funded by membership contributions because there are annual memberships plus the revenues that we derive from the numerous trainings, conferences, and the publications that we produce every year. And from there, we use that to pay for the rent of the office, the internet, the licenses, and all those, including our taxes and maintaining the offices as well as the employees. Because I understand that in my country there are many organizations, but there are very few which are successful. Because while they have officers, they don't have offices, they don't have full-time employees who will really do the job. Because our clients are mostly institutions who would require us to help them in many areas of their research endeavors. We don't receive from foundations so far, and we don't also solicit from politicians because um, research should be about politics. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so thank you so much, Professor. Okay, for your answer to the participant. So, okay, Professor, we have some suggestions that I think you can see from the chat box, and then some question that cannot be read by me because sometimes time limitation. So I think you can see some question in the chat box, right? Okay, so right now, so we are going to move on to the next questions from Professor Irby Billy. Okay, so the first question is, what is the journals that you have created? Okay,
Okay.
can you hear me? Okay, thank you.
Oh, yes. Okay. We have multidisciplinary journals because basically the large segment of research in the Philippines is about multidisciplinary research. We also have an interdisciplinary journal, and we have a journal that is now with Calibrate Analytics, the Ecology and Conservation Journal, that is being used by our teachers for ranking and promotion, because there is now a policy in the Philippines that only publications of Scopus and Calibrate Analytics would be honored for ascendancy into higher promotions and rank. All right, so that's it. And we have specialized journals, but some of these were not sustained. For example, we had the only journal on LGBT in Asia, but we had very few research studies to pursue that. We also have the only journal on graft and corruption in the whole world. But research in the Philippines, there is almost nothing being done. And also elsewhere, it seems that researchers do not want to die early, and so they do not want to tread into very sensitive topics like graft and corruption. While there are theses and dissertations on that in public administration, but very few have the intention to publish. So those are some.
Okay, thank you so much, Professor. So, participants, we have 4 more minutes. Okay, for the professor presentation. Okay, so okay, right now I would like to read another question for Professor. Okay, so this is from Hein Gong Hian. So Professor, could you please explain to me more how to develop effective statement of problems in research?
Okay, I will
Okay,
only
thank you.
speak about quantitative studies because it takes long on the qualitative side. That for the quantitative studies, it is very important that we state our problems inferentially, meaning that um, a statement of the problem should have a component for hypothesis testing, because when you go into higher publications like Scopus and Thomson Reuters or Calibrate Analytics, they are more keen about what has been the result of your hypothesis testing. We call that now as the new trend, which is hypothesis-driven research. No longer appreciated for higher level publications. Those questions that focus on profile, they focus on the what, but rather more on what is the how does one variable affect another, how do a set of variables affect one another, and that's it. And for the qualitative part, they should be stated according to the discipline of that type of research. For example, if you do grounded theory methodology, there is a way to express your problem statement related only to grounded theory. And then if you're doing mixed methods, there are also very specific ways to specify your problems using the mixed methods technique. So I think the most important part is that a person should be able to read the standard books on these methodologies and then locate how these methodologies are utilized in thesis and dissertations and publications so that they will be able to connect. And I think if there is any advice I can give on how to get accepted in higher level publications is read their publications as part of your meals every day. Meaning, take Scopus for breakfast, Clarivate for dinner. Because if one does that, then he will be able to understand the nuance and the academic culture of scientific writing.
Yes, thank you so much, and I appreciate that you have shared the practical solution of your research to the new researchers or general learners in the world. Okay, so yeah, participants. So the professor presentation right now is finished. Thank you so much for attending the useful presentation. So I hope that all the all the experience and idea from the professor will be useful for all the participants. Okay, thank you. And we have a few more questions, but I'm so sorry for that, for your question haven't answered yet. Okay, I'm so sorry about that. Okay, thank you so much, Professor Vina, I'm sorry, yeah, Vinaro. Okay, thank you. So yeah, yeah. Thank you, Professor.